Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, it's evening time. Sun's gone down, and it's actually been a pretty nice day weather-wise. In the 80s, but starting tomorrow, it looks like I think we'll probably still hit 80 tomorrow, maybe 80, 81 is what they're saying. But then after that, the temps are really going to start dropping, and possibly by Wednesday or Thursday, we may not even hit 60, 70 degrees. We'll be in the 60s. I mean, that's crazy for this time of the year. It's technically still summer. But don't get your hopes up. Fall is not here yet. This is just false fall. We'll get picked up again on the temperatures, and it'll start to feel like summer again, and we'll have some more humid, hot weather. We just always do. So don't start pulling out your winter expeditionary stuff. I know people that are like that. It drops below 70 and they got to be putting coats on and bundling up. It's craziness. It's okay. You'll be fine. You can have your pumpkin lattes soon enough, I guess, or whatever it is that they sell at those places. So I guess the only thing that I really wanted to talk about is something that I think is kind of important. And I know that a lot of conservatives, strangely enough, are saying that this is good. Especially, MAGA conservatives, Republicans and stuff. They're cheering this on. And I get it. On the surface, it kind of looks good. But history shows this can be bad, and that there's not a good record in history of this happening and things being fine. And what I'm speaking of is, it's now been announced that National Guard troops and the Pentagon says maybe even regular full-time active duty military personnel are going to be deployed and more into American cities. Actually, what a lot of people don't realize is that currently National Guard are being used in about 19 states. Here's a map here showing you the states. About a little less than 2,000 in total, so not a lot. But these are being used in a law enforcement / assisting immigration control manner. But what's going to change is, and this came from the president's mouth and news reports, is that the Pentagon, they are working on the plans to make this to happen, is that, they've been in Washington, D.C., and that's a little different because it is a federal district. But now they're going to be moving into American cities. And the president stated that the next one was Chicago and then New York. And they're going to be going in and they're going to be ridding the cities of crime, homelessness, drugs, trash, graffiti. They're going to clean it up. And I know on the surface that looks really good, because these cities that are mentioned, I would never live in. Like you could give me all of Chicago and I wouldn't live there unless I could change it. It's awful, and I don't like the crime and the drugs and the filth, and these are just godless places for the most part. But I'm also really uncomfortable seeing the U.S. military and federal agents being pushed into these cities for law enforcement purposes. And it doesn't mean that I think that the current law enforcement in these cities are good. Most of them, Chicago and New York are extremely corrupt. Chicago police have, I think they almost brag about it. It's like a badge of honor for them of how corrupt their police department is. And it has been for decades. But that still doesn't mean that, federal troops going into these cities. This is one of the very things that this nation was built upon, of not having federal or the king's troops in the cities and in your homes. And there's this thing called the Posse Comitatus Act, and I don't know how they're going to work themselves around that, but that's not stopped this administration so far of working inside or outside of the law. And history has shown that this does not end well. What I'm about to say, I'm not comparing Donald J. Trump to Adolf Hitler. Not in any way, shape, or form. I'm not comparing the MAGA movement to Nazi socialism. But this is exactly one of the things that Hitler did when he came into power. You know, most of you that don't know your history, which is a shame, you should know history quite well, because it helps to understand it and understand where we're going, and hopefully have your eyes open to us possibly repeating it. So anyways, when Hitler came to power, he wasn't this bloodthirsty killer that is portrayed in history. He was portrayed as he was a very popular president. He was actually going to bring Germany out of this deep dark hole it had gotten in since World War I, where they were, the economy was falling apart, and the country had fallen into this very godless, vile, repugnant state where crime and sexual impurities, all this stuff was going on. I don't want to go into the graphic details because that's not the kind of stuff I talk about on this channel, but most of you know this. Hitler came in and he changed a lot of that, and that's what brought him to power. That's what made him such a powerful person, so that later on, when he started to do things that aren't good, people were okay with it, because little by little, he started sending troops in to rid the cities of all these bad things, right? Which sounds good. And then when they start ridding the cities of people and, that shouldn't be, it kind of spirals, folks. And it's not just with Hitler. This is something that dictators and stuff have done for many, 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 many eons, where, they come to power and they become very popular because, well, they do a lot of good in the beginning, right? They don't come to power and just immediately start slaughtering people and sending people to concentration camps and trampling on all these people's rights. They start off by saying, "Hey, we're gonna rid crime. We're gonna get rid of crime. We're gonna handle that. We're gonna end homelessness. We're gonna end all these vile people in our society that are just destroying our morality in our communities. We're gonna do that. We're gonna get trash out of the communities. We're gonna beautify things. We're going to make our cities lovely, and of course we're going to spend all this money doing that." And then little by little, it becomes, well, we also have to get rid of these people here too, because they're not towing the line. They're stepping out of line. We got to deal with this over here. These books aren't acceptable. This religious belief isn't acceptable, and so on and so forth. And then one day you wake up and you're living under a tyrant dictator. Now, I'm not saying that is exactly what Donald Trump is doing, but I'm saying that we're going down a very slippery slope and path by doing it this way. Now, I don't know that there's other good options other than working for good reform in these cities. My personal opinion is probably a little bit more cynical, and if that's what the people want and voted for, then let them have it. The rest of us go live somewhere else. And that's probably not the best attitude to have, but it's what you get. But I really don't like the idea of setting a precedence to send federal troops and federal agents that don't even have the legal authority to be doing these things, to go into these cities and do them anyways. And because there's just so much. I don't even know that I have to explain it with you folks. I think you get it. At least a lot of you do. The king has created his army that will just go around and do the things that he wants done. And at some point it could be on you. Maybe it's not Donald Trump that does those things. But what if it's the next guy that gets in? And maybe they're on the left, but now the precedent has been set that the president can nationalize National Guard and take, active duty personnel and put them in a city that they feel is necessary and order them to fight crime. What if it's because, the next president that, let's say Gavin Newsom becomes president. I don't think that's going to happen, but let's just pretend for a moment. And he decides that your nice little conservative town Well, it's too conservative, and you're not allowing all the transgender people and the changing sex changing children people and all that kind of stuff in your town, and he sends in the National Guard to force you to do it. And if you don't comply, then you get arrested and you put in re-education camps. Yes, this is a very extreme scenario that I'm laying out, but if the legal precedence has been set for a president to do that to a certain segment of society, then why can't he do it to another president, do the same thing to another segment of society? It's a dangerous slope, folks. Yeah, the crime is bad in these places, and it needs to be handled. But I don't know that it needs to be handled by sending the army in under the authority of the president. I mean, the president is on the federal level, and the cities are on a local municipal level. I'm having a hard time figuring out exactly where the authority lies in the president to do this. But yet it's being done. Now, will this lead to a civil war? That's possible. There's already been a lot of backlash and protests in the Washington, D.C. area. Not enough to call it something big, but if this starts happening city to city, yeah. And the thing is at least the reports that are coming out of Washington, D.C. is the stuff that they're doing is working. That the city streets are looking much safer, to the point that there's not a lot of people on the city streets anymore. And that there hasn't been a murder in D.C. in a week. And that crime has plummeted. It's effective. Well, of course it's effective. But is it the right thing to do? I don't know. I'm having a hard time with this one. I mean, maybe someone can make a great argument that it's a good thing, but I don't know if that's possible at this point. So we need to be continually preparing. I know, you know where I'm going with this. You need to understand that there's no good guys at the top level. It doesn't matter what political party they're with. It doesn't matter what color of hat or tie that they wear. They're not on your side. And you need to be preparing yourself for all of the damage and all of the chaos that's happening and that will certainly begin to happen because of all the people in charge. This is a controlled demolition of our society. That's what it is. They want to change things. They want this new technology. They're whether they know it or not, they're working for Satan. Oh man, that's crazy, Travis, that you would say that. Well, it's true. They're working for Lucifer himself. They may not know it, but they are. And they're fulfilling his agenda. And it's all planned and orchestrated. And it's going to end up where you and I own nothing. Get it? And you're going to be happy, right? Well, you'll be forced to be if you follow their path. Or you can follow your own path of resistance and be as self-sufficient as possible, prep up, and find others around you that are like-minded that you can trust and build coalitions with. Because we're going to need to do this at some point. Because at some point, this new normal is going to be utter chaos. Because it's already getting there. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.